of course, there are few stories bigger than the story of capitalism. We clearly owe a huge debt of gratitude for the gifts that capitalism has brought. It's been estimated that standards of living have risen 10,000-fold since the birth of capitalism. Steven Pinker has, of course, argued that broadly there's never been a better time in human history to be alive. And proponents of capitalism could argue that the freedoms at the heart of capitalism probably contain our best hope for the future, that we need more capitalism, not less, if we want to include more people in its benefits. And what we should most focus on right now is to accelerate our way through the challenges that we face. Now, on the other hand, critics of capitalism might say that if it were an algorithm, that algorithm has developed a pretty serious glitch, with economic progress that drives climate change, resource depletion, inequalities, that's incapable of managing the ethical dilemmas posed by new technologies, that leads to fragilities through global flows of finance that can seem increasingly disconnected from business and societal realities. There are concerns over concentrations of power that can distort democratic processes, insufficient care and attention for collective goods and well-being, and a compounding of historic and racial unfairness. The world's 26 richest people now own more wealth than the bottom half of the total population of the world, and those kind of statistics are getting worse. Now, while it has been claimed that it would be easier for most people to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism, you could say that right now, due to the pandemic, we are emerging from a huge experiment in ending capitalism, with on the one hand, the lockdown and everything that's had to come to a halt, and on the other hand, emergency measures that have closely resembled quite radical ideas such as universal basic income and a straightforward expansion of the monetary supply rather than government borrowing to pay for those measures. And all while, as a business community, we were already processing the idea of a proposed shift from a shareholder model of capitalism to a stakeholder model of capitalism. So have we arrived at a huge turning point where we're ready for an alternative to capitalism? Or should we be focusing on alternative ways of practicing capitalism? What should these alternatives look like? What might the implications be for society, the economy, the kinds of businesses, brands, and social change organizations that MarketingKind members are involved with? Now, often in these kinds of conversations, you can get stuck between either acknowledging the full extent of the challenges, but not having a practical response, or focusing on the practicalities and the practical things that we can do, but overlooking the true extent of the challenges. Now, we believe we may be rescued from that kind of dilemma by a wonderful panel of guests who are both radical and practical.